Last time in the Black Clover manga, as the battle between devils grows into a battle between opposing ideals, Dante brings out the worst in Asta, leading him into an uncontrollable animalistic fit as Asta breaks his boundaries and gets a new form. Black Clover chapter 243. My goodness. Where do I start then? Where do I start with this chapter? My hype while reading this chapter was through the roof. I wish you guys could have understood just how much I loved reading it for the first time. I think it's like 2 5 out of 5 chapters in a row now. Maybe I need to start doing live reactions to these chapters. Maybe is that something you guys are interested in? Because I think at this moment in time, they're that good. And my reactions, I'm so in love with them that maybe you guys have to let me know in the comment section down below whether or not live reactions to Black Clover chapters is something you're interested in. And while you're at it, leave a like and subscribe and be sure to answer today's question of the day, which is, do you really think that Gauche is actually dead? Because I don't. Purely because I expected the death of a Black Bull member to be so much more emotional and hard-hitting, and I'll be honest, Gauche's death, I don't feel anything towards it. I think Grey will learn a new spell in the next chapter or two to save Gauche, but potentially maybe that will come at a cost for Gauche himself. Maybe it will leave him paralysed or something along those lines. Regardless though, like I said, I personally don't think he's dead, so I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on that from this chapter. But instead, turn my attention to some freaky devil shit. Like, the devils in Black Clover are so damn great. I love that we're 200 chapters deep right now and we literally know next to nothing. We've only recently started getting names for these characters, let alone anything else, and the fact that names nearly 250 chapters deep are getting this excited, literally just names, goes to show the interest and investment going into these devils in Black Clover is so intricate and detailed that the payoff is going to be absolutely incredible. And I've got a wild theory regarding Asta's anti-magic devil and what that could mean for the future of the story. But before we go into that, I'll get into that a little bit later on in the review. Before then though, let's talk about some of the other devils. Obviously we knew Magicula's name already, and now we know the name of the word magic devil. We can stop calling him the word magic devil or the Weevil or the Weevil or whatever you call him, because his name is officially Zagred. And then Dante's got Lucifero or Lucifer or Satan essentially. You'd expect Lucifero to be one of, if not the strongest devil going right now. Zeno's devil's name though, on the other hand, is still unknown, and I don't know how much I trust Zeno. Well, obviously, I mean, he is a Dark Triad member, he's a bad guy, so I don't necessarily trust him in that sense, but I think out of all of the Dark Triad members, if anyone's got an alternate motive at hand, it's probably him. But with all this reveal of information, such as names, we also actually learn a little bit more of the devil habitat. The underworld has a hierarchy, which I remember commenting on way back when Zagred was originally defeated. How Asta's demon was sarcastically referring to him as his elder, which then led me and the rest of the fanbase to believe that Zagred was of a higher ranking to Asta's devil, which sort of brought up the theory of a devil hierarchy, which then alluded to the fact that Asta's devil was in fact a nobody. And that, in this chapter, was confirmed. But what's interesting, and to a point confusing me still, is that nobody bats an eyelid at the notion of anti-magic. Nobody. What is potentially the most overpowered ability in the entirety of Black Clover's universe, in the right hands, the ability of anti-magic could render every day-to-day activity practically useless and pointless in Black Clover's world. And yet, nobody really cares. Lucifero and Dante even refer to the idea of anti-magic as nothing more than just paltry magic, which basically is that it's them calling it meaningless and useless and weak. Like, hello? Am I the only one thinking about how incredibly broken anti-magic is, and yet everybody is so ignorant towards it. And I do understand that this is something Tabata is doing on purpose to build up and showcase the ignorance of the antagonists who oppose Asta's ideals, but I'm sure there could be a different way of handling it, because like I said, this is such a potential-wise, this is easily the most broken ability anyone could have. Anyway, like I said, Asta's devil is a nobody. He's a nobody in a world that is full of ignorant leaders, like I said. For example, Lucifero and Dante were saying that they're basically rulers who live by the fact that great power equals much more control over society. Very, very similar to the Clover Kingdom. Asta's devil and Asta himself are very slowly starting to draw some parallels to each other. And I think, come the end of the series, Asta's devil will act as a what Asta could have been type of character. For example, if you think Obito in Naruto, something along those kind of lines. Obviously, Asta is trying to become the Wizard King through merit and respect of others around him, and I think Asta's devil is trying to do something similar in the underworld, but rather than going through it in the ethical way like Asta is doing, he's doing more the unethical approach to doing it by essentially killing and taking down everybody above him to reach that end goal of ruling over the underworld. And I think come the end of the series that Asta's anti-magic devil will become the final villain in the series as he becomes the ruler of the underworld. But I think by this point, the devils will somewhat have almost become humanized to where we actually feel somewhat form of empathy towards them. And what's terrifying is that only then will people start to understand the power of anti-magic. Because imagine a war where the anti-magic devil is the opposing antagonist. He's finally free and ruling over the underworld, and he just wipes out all magic in there with his anti-magic. I think that that's the perfect way to realistically keep increasing the power levels through each story and each arc with each villain without having to introduce some stupid broken characters that just throw off any form of balance that the power scaling once had that make no sense. Like I said, the anti-magic devil is thematically Asta's dark side. A nobody who wants to rule over the kingdom and make everyone realise his existence. It's the same as Asta to some degree. And I think that this way it does fit into those themes of Black Clover. Because a lot of people don't want Asta to end up being this crazy, fated reincarnation who was fated to achieve greatness no matter what. Because that goes against everything Asta is trying to prove, really. And a lot of people were scared that him having this anti-magic devil host would be that. But not only have we seen that devil hosts aren't inherently that rare, but the idea of anti-magic in the devil underworld isn't really anything special either. Asta's devil isn't this special being. And I know a lot of people will say that Yuno ended up becoming what he was trying to disprove by being royalty, but I don't necessarily think that that's what Yuno's story in Black Clover is trying to tell. Although the end goal is the same, Asta's story is the classic zero to hero. Whereas with Yuno, I think what Yuno's character is trying to portray to the reader is the classic not to judge a book by its cover. Obviously, everyone perceived Yuno to be this nothing little worthless peasant because that's what everyone believed he was, but now that they see that he's going to be some royalty from the Spade Kingdom, everybody's going to view him differently, and it's going to be like, well, you didn't view me like this before, so why should I accept you viewing me like this now? Anyway, let me know what you think about that. Like I said, thematically, I think what's going on with the anti-magic devil being a nobody works and fits in perfectly with Asta's character. But let me know what you think about Asta's devil's goals and whether you think something along those lines is fairly possible. If he is got the same goal as Asta, but will go about it in a completely different way, which will eventually lead into him being the final villain. I should really get back to talking about the chapter now though, shouldn't I? Asta basically uses two new attacks in this chapter. Well, one of them is just sort of a combination of two existing attacks he's already got, that being the Black Slash and the Black Hurricane. But then he also uses what I believe is a new spell, a new attack anyway, and it's sort of this black anti-magic whip that locks on and follows the opponent. And still, even after all of that effort, all of that time, by the end of the chapter, all Asta managed to do was leave a little scratch on Dante's cheek. And even then, I think it's safe to say that Dante still isn't taking this fight all too seriously. I mean, we saw in this chapter that he's still trying to get conversation out of Asta. He's just trying to talk to him and learn more about Asta and the devil and all of that. He's not fully fighting with the intent to kill Asta, which is so scary because he's already led Asta to a point which we've never seen Asta before, and Dante's not even trying. He is literally just toying with Asta. But I do fully expect that now Dante has been hurt by Asta, that he will take this fight a little bit more seriously. I think he's just going to go all out. I think he's essentially going to get fed up and think to himself, listen, I've got no use in talking to you while you're in this state. I think Dante is going to absolutely wipe the floor with Asta next chapter, knock him unconscious, and I think he then may take Asta back to the Spade Kingdom essentially as his prize, as opposed to Yami, who he originally came for. But I think that's where I'm going to end up the review for chapter 243. Remember, answer the question down in the comment section down below, and also while you're at it, let me know if Black Clover chapter reactions are something you guys are interested in doing, because when Tabata is writing down absolute fire content like he is right now, it feels like a waste not to showcase how incredibly hyped I get while reading these chapters, because they are constant back-to-back greatness. But I'll be seeing you guys in another video very, very soon. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Peace.